Dr. Martin Rushwaya, members of the Fourth Estate, fellow Zimbabweans. Today, the 26th of August 2025, His Excellency the President, Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa, chaired the 25th Cabinet meeting. The following issues, among others, were considered and approved. Cabinet considered and approved the 2024-2025 summer crops marketing and the 2025 winter plan. Zimbabwe's updated food balance sheet to March 2026 based on the results of the second round of crops, livestock and fisheries assessment of the 12th of April 2025 indicated that there is adequate grain at national level. The Grain Marketing Board's intake of grains and oilseeds increased from 12.8% to 21.6%. The Grain Marketing Board has since opened 1,804 mobile grain collection centers across all wards in order to ease grain deliveries by farmers. At those centers, farmers supported under the Presidential Input Scheme are also contributing in terms of each household to show gratitude for food assistance, which will contribute towards the local strategic grain reserve. The cotton marketing season started on the 24th of July 2025, and a total of 27.9 million kilograms had been sold to 6 contractors. Meanwhile, tobacco sales stood at a record 354.4 million kilograms as at the 18th of August 2025, compared to 231 million kilograms sold at the same time in 2024, marking an increase in terms of 53.07%. Tobacco seed sales are 12% firmer compared to 2024, which augurs well for the 2025-2026 season, which is targeting 316 million kilograms. The winter cereal plan is targeted 135,000 hectares, comprising wheat 120,000, barley 6,500 hectares, and potatoes more than 9,000 hectares. With an estimated production of wheat 600,000 metric tons. Quilla bird surveillance is ongoing in all provinces of the country. There is enough manpower, vehicles, sprayers and chemicals to respond to any outbreak, and localized district teams have already been activated. Cabinet noted the update on the 115th edition of the Zimbabwe Agricultural Show, which commenced yesterday and will run until the 30th of August 2025. The show is running under the theme Building Bridges, Connecting Agriculture, Industry and Commerce. The show is organized around 5 sections, namely agri-produce, tobacco, cotton, livestock and commercial exhibition. Foreign participants from South Africa, Zambia, Malawi, Tanzania, Ghana, Nigeria, Pakistan and China are exhibiting at this year's event. Major business events include the golf tournament, the annual ZAS Schools Quiz, annual National Agribusiness Conference, Exhibitors Cocktail, Zimbabwe Agricultural Media Awards, Environmental, Social and Governance Conference, and the Research for Agricultural Excellence and Technology Indaba. The show will be officially opened by His Excellency the President of the Republic of South Africa, President Cyril Ramaphosa, this Friday. Cabinet considered and approved the Crops, Horticulture, Fisheries and Livestock Summer Plan 2025 to 2026 season. For the 2025-2026 season, the focus will be on increased agroecological tailoring of crops and enhancing climate proofing at household level through Pfumvudza in Twasa, and at national level through expansion of the area under irrigation. The crops targeted under the input support scheme include maize, sorghum, pearl millet, soybeans, sunflower, African peas, groundnuts, and sugar beans. In addition, the Agricultural and Rural Development Authority has been designated the food, feed, seed, and oil security agent for the nation, with a target to produce 500,000 metric tons of summer cereals from 100,000 hectares and 300,000 metric tons of winter cereals from 60,000 hectares. The other scheme will provide seed, fertilizer, and chemicals to farmers. Regarding oil self-sufficiency targets versus production, Cabinet advises that total oilseed production in terms of 75,688 megaliters is planned for the 2025-2026 summer season against the country's annual oil requirement of 180,000 megaliters. Emphasis is on sunflower oil seed production, which will continue. Concerning commercial agriculture production, the National Enhanced Agriculture Productivity Scheme will be funded through AFC, CBZ, and NMB banks, backed by government performance guarantees targeting maize, soybean, traditional grains, and sunflower, with a target of 45,000 hectares and an output of 247,000 metric tons. The private sector, under umbrella of Food Crop Contractors Association, is targeting to contract 27,000 hectares of maize, 17,000 hectares of soybean, and 10,000 hectares of sorghum, with an expected output of 224,000 metric tons. Cotton production will be undertaken through government-enabled COTCO scheme and private sector financing. Beneficiaries of the government-enabled COTCO scheme will be required to deliver cotton each for the support received. Crops such as sesame will be promoted and grown to complement cotton production in order to ensure improved livelihoods income. A total of 3,945 boreholes have been drilled. 3,945 boreholes have been drilled to support village business units, school business units, youth business units, and vocational training center business units in order to build resilience for sustained crop production to meet national requirements, including the strategic grain reserves. Irrigation development will continue to be accelerated. A total of 15,000 hectares will be developed before the start of the 2025-2026 summer season, bringing the cumulative area available for irrigation to 232,000 hectares, of which 100,000 hectares will be available for summer irrigation. Regarding mechanization, more than 15,576 tractors are ready for land preparation and tillage services. A total of 3,100 planters, 334 combine harvesters, 90 commercial dryers, and 3,450 units are currently available for use. In terms of marketing arrangement for the 2025-2026 season, it is advised that the planning, pre-planting, and marketing prices will be announced to give direction on policy intent on food security. The Grain Marketing Board will purchase all summer crops financed under the Presidential Input Program and other scheme as well as by self-financed farmers, and will be the buyer of last resort. All contractors will be obliged to buy back contracted grain at market prices. Farmers are encouraged to insure their crops and view insurance as an input in terms of production. Meanwhile, the 2025-2026 Summer Fisheries Program is targeting stockpiling 3 million fingerlings in 2,000 fish ponds, which will be implemented under the Presidential Community Fisheries Scheme. The government of Zimbabwe is investing in the development of 5 strategic centers, namely Henderson, Makoholi, Matopos, Bubilupane, and the Chipinge Coffee Research Institute. The government of Zimbabwe will continue to establish ward drought mitigation centers as buffer facilities for rural development. Cabinet considered and approved the review of license permits, levies and fees in the tourism sector in line with the Cabinet decision of 29 July 2025, which approved the review of licenses, permits, levies and fees on business by ministries, departments and agencies. A consultative approach was adopted in the view of accommodating and ensuring that we have a stakeholders approach. The consultative approach included players in the hospitality, catering, tour guides and operators, boating services and vehicle rental services value chains, which were operating under a choking regulatory environment. The review was undertaken to remove identified unjustifiable licenses and permits, levies and fees, streamline duplicative and overlapping licenses and permits, and reduce unsustainable high fees and levies. The reviewed licenses, permits, levies and fees will be subjected to further refinements. The review process is in line with the implementation in terms of the ease of doing business reforms, which aims to reduce the cost of doing business, increasing competitiveness and enhancing growth in the Zimbabwean economy. Cabinet also received reports in terms of priority projects for the second 100-day cycle of 2025. In terms of image building, international relations and trade thematic areas in terms of NDS1, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Trade highlighted the following achievements: the construction of the Zimbabwe Abuja Chancellor official residence staff apartments has reached 65% in terms of completion. The renovation of the Zimbabwe Pretoria Staff House is 60% complete. The renovation of the Zimbabwe Cape Town project is at 50% in terms of completion. The construction of the Zimbabwe London official residence is ongoing, and the electrical installations at the Zimbabwe Beira project is also ongoing. Under the food security and nutrition pillar in terms of NDS1, the Minister of Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Rural Development reported the following achievements under his purview. A total of 122,000 hectares were put under winter wheat production, surpassing the planned target. The construction of the Kundri Dam in Mashonaland East Province has reached 60% in terms of completion. The construction of the Lake Gwai Shangani is ongoing, and a total of 83 village business units were established across provinces. Under the Presidential Rural Development Program component focusing on bore drilling, a total of 156 bores were drilled out of the targeted 100. Pertaining to irrigation development, the targeted projects were Farai and Vimbana irrigation schemes in Chipinge district and the Makwe irrigation scheme. At Farai irrigation scheme, the development of the 30 hectare area had reached 57% in terms of completion, whilst the Mbanai project is at 70%. The development of 21 hectares at Makwe is at 93% in terms of completion. A total of 158 deep tanks were rehabilitated out of the targeted 160. Out of the targeted 2 million cattle for branding, a total of more than 834,000 had been branded, which indicates an ongoing process. In terms of the economic growth and stability pillar, in terms of NDS1, the Minister of Mines and Mining Development highlighted the following achievements. The establishment of the online export permit system is 90% complete. The wire making line at Dinson Iron and Steel Company at Manize in the Midlands province is 75% in terms of completion, whilst the mill balls plant is at 60%. Some of the steel products being produced at Dinson include pig iron, rebar, hot rolled wire rods, and hot rolled round bars. The construction of the Platinum Group of Metals Concentrate Smelter Expansion Project and the 35 megawatt phase 1 solar plant at Zimplats is complete. The United States $34 million flotation plant at Sino Mine Bikita in Masvingo province is complete. The Mutagesh coking plant in Wangen Mateveland North province is now operational with a washing plant capacity of 200,000 metric tons per month. The construction of a coking plant at Zambezi Gas and Coal Mine in Wange has reached 95% in terms of completion. The establishment of a coke oven battery at Zimbabwe's Zhongjin in Wange is 90% complete. The underground mine developed at Wange Colliery Company is now fully operational, and the refurbishment of the coke oven batteries is at 95% in terms of completion. The Consolidated Petroleum Production Sharing Agreement and Petroleum Exploration and Production Agreement for the Mzarabani Oil and Gas Project is now in place, and the project was granted national project status. The construction of a Platinum Group Metals Concentrator at Karoo Platinum in Mashonaland West is in progress, having reached 41% in terms of completion. And the construction of coking power and ferrochrome plants at Palm River Mine in Beitbridge is now complete. Cabinet also received reports on His Excellency the President Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa's joint SADC EAC virtual summit meeting on DRC on the 13th of August 2025. Cabinet noted the joint SADC and EAC Summit of Heads of State and Government held on the 13th of August 2025. The purpose of the summit was to update the heads of state and government on the appointment of 5 facilitators, the outcome of the briefing session with the co-chairpersons convened with the panel of facilitators, endorsement in terms of the enabling documents outlining the mandate of the facilitators, and the endorsement in terms of the terms of reference for the AU mediator and the EAC SADC panel of facilitators, consolidated African-led process. The summit was informed of the appointment of His Excellency former President of the Republic of Botswana, Dr. Masisi, as a member of the panel of facilitators. The extraordinary summit endorsed the following enabling documents: the terms of reference for the 5-member high-level facilitators appointed by the joint EAC SADC summit, the framework for the merger of the Nairobi and Luanda processes, the process design for the inclusive mediation process in Eastern DRC, the resource mobilization framework for supporting the joint initiative, and the proposed structure of the independent secretariat to support facilitators process. Cabinet also received and noted the report on the 45th Ordinary Summit of SADC Heads of State and Government and the Council of Ministers meeting held in Madagascar on the 17th of August 2025. The meeting was held under the theme Advancing Industrialization, Agricultural Transformation and Energy Transition for a Resilient SADC. At the meeting, His Excellency the President, Dr. Idi Mnangagwa, handed over the chairmanship of SADC to His Excellency the President of Madagascar, President Rajoelina. South Africa was elected the incoming chairperson of SADC, whilst Malawi and Eswatini were elected chairperson and deputy chairperson of the SADC organ on politics, defense and security cooperation, respectively. The summit noted that there was a marginal increase in the performance of all the pillars in terms of the regional indicative strategic document plan, with Pillar 1 on industrial development and market integration performing below expectation. The Secretariat was directed to fast-track the development of the North-South Economic Corridor and the implementation of the SADC Corridor Strategy to enhance trade, regional connectivity, and economic integration. His Excellency E. Maghosi was appointed Executive Secretary for a second term. His Excellency the President, Dr. Idi Mnangagwa, signed the SADC Protocol against trafficking of persons, the SADC Protocol on statistics, and the agreement amending the Protocol on Energy of 2021. The summit further approved the amending of the agreement in terms of the SADC Protocol on finance and investment to include provisions for countering money laundering and financing terrorism. Cabinet noted the report on His Excellency the President, Dr. Idi Mnangagwa's visit to Yokohama, Japan for the 9th Tokyo International Conference on African Development Summit under the theme Co-Create Innovative Solutions with Africa. The strategic objectives of participating in the summit were to reaffirm, engage and re-engage with the international community, to leverage on the strength of the TICAD framework to drive sustainable economic development in support of national industrialization and modernization, and to strengthen the brand Zimbabwe. His Excellency the President, Dr. Idi Mnangagwa, held bilateral meetings with Prime Minister of Japan, the World Food Programme, Ms. Cindy McCain. WFP is willing to consider Zimbabwe as a regional pioneer hub for grain, and the United Nations Development Programme Acting Administrator, Mr. Howling Shu, aimed at deepening bilateral cooperation across strategic sectors including agriculture, health, mining, technology, trade, and investment. His Excellency the President delivered a statement during the economy session highlighting key priorities for Africa as well as Zimbabwe's development. He invited Japanese companies to partner with Africa in harnessing critical minerals for new energy value chains through technology and skills transfer. The Peace and Stability session addressed conflict resolution, violent extremism, good governance, and the role of women and youth in peace building. The Prime Minister of Japan pledged a maximum of United States dollars 5.5 billion for the expansion of the enhanced private sector for Africa. The US dollars 1.5 billion will focus on investments and training of 300,000 people from Africa with a focus on artificial intelligence, and United States dollars 550 million to the Vaccine Alliance. On 20 August 2025, the Zimbabwe National Geospatial and Space Agency and CrossU, a leading global platform based in Japan for technology transfer and international business expansion, signed an MOU to cooperate on space business. A notable observation in Japan-Africa relations was the call to shift away from donor dependence towards trade, mutual investment, and public-private partnerships as primary vehicles for sustainable growth and win-win outcomes, thereby ensuring focus is on self-reliance and economic resilience. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for presenting today's cabinet highlights. We now move to the first round of 3 questions, then we allow Honorable Ministers to respond to those questions. Then we move to the second round again of 3 questions, and our Minister will then respond. Over to you, colleagues. Yes.
Thank you, Chief Secretary. My name is Owen Mandova from ZBC. I do have 3 questions to the different ministers. The first is directed to the Minister of Tourism and Hospitality regarding the easing of doing business in the tourism industry. Are you able to shed more light on the specific fees and levies that you are going to consider, and also the size of percentages along which you are going to do so? Then the second question is for the Minister of Mines regarding the product sharing agreement with the Invictus Energy. I'm sure it has been more than almost 7 years since they started to do exploration. But questions are arising as to whether if you can kindly provide whether the investor has shed light in terms of when they can start to drill for gas, or whether the deposits there in Zambia are commercially viable. These are questions which are coming from some of our audience. Then the last question is to the Minister of Agriculture. The record tobacco output, the Minister is announced to, but there are concerns that farmers, they remain highly indebted because most of them, they are funded by through offshore financing, through contract schemes. After they get their process, they have to pay back their loans. In relation to the tobacco industry value chain transformation strategy, I'm sure they will choose to do with local financing for our small-scale farmers. Are we looking ahead to such in terms of mobilizing local finance for our farmers? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Owen has asked 3 questions, and the Minister will respond to those 3 questions.
Thank you, Chief Secretary. The first is to the Minister of Tourism. Owen Mandova wants to know more about the percentages and the areas where reviews have been effected. Over to you, Honorable Rhodes.
Thank you very much, Chairman, and I would like to thank Owen for his question. Yes, we have specific fees, specific licensing fees, and levies that have been dropped to, let me say, most of them cutting across it by half. For example, grading fees have been posting about $700, $500 to $700 is being cut by a specific amount that is by half. And we have investment as well for special economic zones that it cuts across, but I'm just speaking about tourism vis-a-vis ZIDA. we also have fees that have been cut. But we have a number of fees that affects our industry. That includes the transport sector, as you had the chairman alluding to, as well as licensing for ZBC, radios and TVs. Those will be announced as these industries will be cutting across their fees and licensing. So yes, we have specific fees and they will be published in the near future. Thank you.
I think let's probably look at the sequence of events regarding that project. Initially, there was the seismic survey which took place in the basin to locate the best sites to undertake the drilling of oil and gas. Once the best sites were identified, a drill rig was then brought into the country to undertake drilling at selected sites. What then happened is the drilling took place with samples being taken, analyzed locally and being taken to various international laboratories. It was at that point where it was determined that there is potential commercial viability for further work on the project. And that necessitated now coming up with production sharing agreement, which is obviously is a new thing for the country. So the two parties engaged with the government of Zimbabwe, putting interministerial committee to negotiate with the investor, who also came up with their own committee to come up with a draft. And there is a draft now in place, and we now move on to the next stage of it then being signed and undertaking further drilling. The fact that the rig has not left the country and the rig is on standby, ready to start drilling, I'm sure should give indications that something will be happening. Thank you.
When the large-scale 1,500 farmers left, and we had the learning curve effect of the indigenous farmers that were placed on the land, then the reliance on collateral-based financing on title of the land fell away with land reform. So banks were not able to provide financing. So in 2004, 2005, a dual financing system, and a dual marketing system for tobacco was introduced. This meant getting contractors, off-takers, to be able to finance the crop, provide agronomic services, and then, of course, ensure that you regrow the industry. Phenomenally, the industry has grown to a record as of yesterday, 354.4 million kilograms. So we must thank the contractors for having allowed this growth. 93% of the tobacco is grown under contract, and only 7% now is grown by farmers who were without finance their own tobacco. But that growth has not been without problems. And I think the fact that we have identified them and are beginning to work on them is very good. And that has been done through the Tobacco Transformation Plan, which had the 4 objectives, one of which is localization of tobacco financing. And initially in 2022, we had said we were going to put seed financing of $60 million as government. Sadly, that has not been put in place because of the various competing needs at fiscus level. But we are reviewing that tobacco transformation plan with a view to looking at alternative sources of the localization of financing, so that the perception by the smallholder sector primarily will constitute 85% of the production base of the tobacco, that the returns on tobacco are not as lucrative and as perceived, that we have 354.4 million kilograms sold, and the gross value is 1.177 billion, and yet the net proceeds to farmers are low. So it's something that we're working on. We've had submissions that because of the cost of money that we're borrowing, it means some contractors are perceived to be making money on money. Some contractors are perceived to be making money because they can go and purchase inputs in bulk, so they can get trade and quantity discounts, and these discounts are not passed on to growers, so they can make money there. But when they purchase the tobacco, they also, in some instances, there have been accusations that they do not pay the actual price, so they make money at 3 stations. It's all these allegations that we are investigating, so that we have a very strong tobacco value chain. The value chain is as strong as its weakest point, and we want equitable sharing of benefits for this major export crop that Zimbabwe is producing for a discerning and international market. We market it to 70 destinations, and we want to be able to climb to 500 million kilograms and be able to retain more of the value of our tobacco. I thank you.
But obviously subject to further refinements, include professional tour guide fees registration, which will be reduced by more than 40%. Tour operators licenses from 500 to 300. Boat tours by more than 50%. Licensing fees in terms of houseboats by more than 50%. Cruise permit licensing. There are various licenses, a lot of them, but now there is need for further stakeholder consultation. The first phase is done, now we're moving to the second one. And a lot of these fees, including hotel operators' licenses, the decisions that were made in cabinet is to adjust by more than 50%. So many licensing fees, so many different duplications. Some of the fees will be totally removed, such as the place of assembly fee. The cabinet recommendation is that it be removed outright. So many fees. So we'll get back to you as soon as the final process has been done. But these are the cabinet decisions that were made today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Ministers, for responding to those questions. Now, the last 3 questions for today. Last 2 questions. Yes.
Good afternoon. Wallace Rujito from Herald newspaper. My question is directed at Honorable Minister Masuka. Minister, now that we have President Ramaphosa as the one officially opening the SAS together with HEA, we just wanted to know if there are dates in place in terms of his arrival in Zimbabwe.
Yes, thank you. Any other questions?
Security basic.
Yes, Wallace.
Next is directed at Industry and Commerce Minister. Minister, Zimbabwe participated in the 8th edition of the SADC Industrialization Week held prior to the 41st summit of the heads of state. We just wanted maybe a post-mortem from you in terms of how Zimbabwe participated at the SIW. Thank you.
Another one? Okay, over to you, Mr.
Thank you, Dr. Rushwa. The first issue I don't think what you should just know is that His Excellency the President of the Republic of South Africa, President Cyril Ramaphosa, will officially open the Zimbabwe Agricultural Show on Friday. The other issues are security issues. The second one is on.
Just going to get the date. That's what he wants.
Oh, he wants
He
this
doesn't want to know
on
about
Friday.
security.
Oh,
The date of the official opening is 29 August, Friday, at about lunchtime. Be there.
Yeah,
oh, he's here.
yeah, Minister, you can respond. How far are you willing to go in terms of the review of these fees and licenses and levies? Because many platforms that we have attended, I'm sure, the business community, I'm sure you are quite happy that we've taken this step. And probably the potential benefits of such in terms of investment in the economy. How far are you willing to go in terms of
Case by case.
Thank you very much. I will answer you back to front the potential benefits. With our National Competitiveness Center has been able to do some very informative research which shows that these fees really raise the cost of doing business. They render our industry uncompetitive regionally and also globally. So it's clear that any reduction that we mark on meaningful reduction is going to improve our competitiveness. Now, in terms of how far we're willing to go, I think you heard earlier the response that in terms of these fees, we've got reductions of the order of somewhere to range from between sort of 25% to 50% a reduction in these fees. Some of them are being eliminated completely. So we've really used a very fine tooth comb. I tell you, it's so detailed. If I'm looking at the paper right here, I guess I can't show you, but we towards the sector, we've split it into 4 subsectors, very detailed. So accommodation, hospitality, and catering. You heard the minister earlier explain, that side of it, and also the tour guide and operators as a subcategory, and then the boating services as a subcategory, and then also the sector uses vehicles, so vehicle rental services, and also whatever they utilize, which they own for touring purposes. That's also included. So there's a lot of detail in these fees. As I said, they've been reduced by somewhere between 25% and 50%. That's quite a reduction, and we're sure that this will go a long way in reducing the cost of business. The business has been consulted, they were part of the process, a very wide consultation. So we're sure that if we implement what we're proposing, the profitability and competitiveness is going to improve. We also looked at, or let me call it auxiliary regulation. For example, if you're in the hotel sector or restaurant, you play some music, right? You know that the Zimbabwe Music Rights Association and so forth, they need to pay fees because this is intellectual property. Right? So, but then we find that there are 2 organizations in there that compete for attention and for fees, and that is going to be regularized through the Ministry of Justice. And then also, there are fees that pertain, as I said, to the transport sector through ZINARA or Civil Registration Authority. Those fees are also going to be reviewed. So it's really quite comprehensive, looking at both core regulatory activity as well as auxiliary